It's the ZUUL Noise Gate by Fortin Amplification coming up next. Welcome to the ZUUL how-to video. In this video, we're going to go through the new controls that are on the ZUUL and we're going to listen to a couple of sound samples, clean and distorted. So without further ado, let's get to it. Real quick, let's go through the features of the ZUUL. So in addition to a threshold knob, you have hold and release knobs. And what the hold does is it controls the time which keeps the gate open during brief pauses in the signal source. And you can think of that as the amount of time that it takes for the gate to act after it's been opened, which has been determined by the threshold. Then that time goes to the release, and the release determines how fast the gate shuts. So fast settings will result in tight gating, and slow settings will result in looser gating. Also, now you have a key through, so you can plug your guitar into the key in and use your clean guitar signal as the trigger for the gate, and also go straight out of the key through into your pedals that go in front of your amplifier, so no more splitter. Also, you have a ground lift here for the key, so if you have a ground loop between your effects loop and the pedals in front, this can help solve that issue. Here's the typical way to set up the ZUUL when using the key input to trigger the gate while the gate is in the loop, but you also have a pedal in front of the amp and a pedal in the effects loop. Let me explain. So the ZUUL is in the effects loop, but I got this max on that goes in front of the amp, and I've got this delay that goes in the loop of the amp. So the signal flow for that is guitar comes into the key input right here, the key through comes out, goes into the pedal that goes in front of my amp, in this case this overdrive, then that output of that overdrive goes into the amplifier. The ZUUL receives the amplifier's effects send, and then the output of the ZUUL goes to my first time-based effect. In this case, I've got this flashback delay, could be a reverb, whatever. So ZUUL comes out, goes into that, and then the output of that delay pedal goes into the effects return. That way, my repeats on my delay or my reverb tails, they don't get squashed by the gate. Here's an example of gating in a clean tone situation, and for this one I've also left the delay on in the loop so that we can hear how the repeats are not affected by the gate since it is placed after the gate. So let's check that out. All right, so let's see how the ZUUL reacts to a clean guitar and how it sustains. So in that example, it really only comes on after the usable sustain of the guitar is pretty much gone at that point. Let's hear one more time. So that's a good advantage of using the key, especially when playing clean, is that your clean signal is what triggers it. Nothing else matters to the gate except for your clean signal. All right, so here's a ZUUL in a high gain application. What I've got going on here is I've got the JVM on OD channel 2 orange mode, which is already a high gain channel in the first place, but I'm going to boost it up front with this max on overdrive pedal just to create a little bit more noise. You don't hear the noise currently because the ZUUL is on and doing its job, but if I turn it off, we will go into squealing feedback because I am about a foot in front of this amp, cranked through a 412 cabinet with my pickups facing straight at the speakers. So let's turn the ZUUL off real quick. All right, we don't need to endure any more of that. On to the examples. So first, I want to do a very tight gate example. So I just turned the hold and the release all the way down, so it's going to be very, very tight and modern. All right, as you can see, that's a very tight gate there. So if we turn the hold knob up and the release knob up, the gate is going to engage slower because I've turned the hold time up, and the release it means it's going to decay slower. So not only is the gate going to turn on slower, but it's also going to decay slower. And these controls here are for you to tweak it to your personal settings. So you hear that little bit of noise there, but that's because we've dialed the hold and the release to be longer. If we go back to the really fast gate, you won't hear them. So those are there for you to tweak to your personal style. Just a quick word here about noise gates and effects loops. So noise gates work most effectively in series effects loops, also sometimes known as power amp insert loops. If you're a hard rock, high gain, metal type player, anything with gain, you're going to want to put your gate in a series loop. The JVM here is a good example of the kind of loops you'll see out there because it has both of them. It has the series or power amp insert loop, and it also has a parallel effects loop. So I'm going to explain the differences to you real quick. The power amp insert loop or series loop is just that. It's actually an insert between the preamp and the power amp. So 100% of the preamp signal comes out into the effect, and then 100% of the affected signal comes back into the power amp. In a parallel effects loop, you have dry signal being sent to the power amp all the time. Then you have preamp signal coming out being affected, and then you control how much of that affected signal you want to come back in. Now, the reason it doesn't work great with a noise gate is because you need all of the signal being affected in a noise gate. If you don't have all of the signal being affected in a noise gate, you'll end up having, triggering issues, and also you could have a phasing issue. So, series loop is the way to go. Now, you can also use it in front of the amp, of course. You're not going to kill all the noise of the amplifier that way, but if you just have, if you have a Strat, if you have something with single coils, you're just trying to get rid of a hum, then that works as well. But for the high gain player, series loop is where it's at. Well, hopefully all of that will help you get the most out of your ZUUL Plus. The new controls really do allow the player to tweak it to their exact playing style, which is super cool. So thanks for checking out the video, and we'll see you next time.